Namaste, beautiful friends. This is Elle with Sacred Union Spiritual. Wellness, a channel dedicated to uplifting and enhancing your spiritual well-being. Welcome to this week. All right, so we have some major astrological transits this week, and it's going to shift the energy. So I am going to describe the transits, the shifts that you may be feeling, and then I'm going to pull one oracle card, one major arcana card, and three minor arcana cards for each of the zodiacal elements. So water signs, earth signs, air signs, fire signs. So that is going to be for your sun or rising sign. Let's get started talking about these transits. Venus is moving into Virgo. Now it's leaving Leo, which is really focused on self-image, confidence, and gently moving into Virgo, where the focus is now going to be more on practical, doable, manageable energy. So this is a great time to get organized, upgrade your home, make it more beautiful. It's a great time for reformatting your budget. There's this gentle energy coming through. It's not a shift that's abrupt. It's more like the feeling of opening a window and just a gentle breeze coming through, gently stirring the curtains, but then giving you that breath that recenters and refocuses on things that you can do to make your life more beautiful in practical, manageable, doable ways. Okay, so another aspect that we have is Mars is moving into Gemini. This is going to be very stimulating in your thoughts, in your creativity, and especially in your communication. So things may be a little fast-paced, but because Mars can be a very volatile energy, we want to make sure that we keep communication low-key, not agitated, not aggressive, but constructive. If there needs to be a constructive, courageous conversation, keep it constructive. Don't allow things to erode into kind of angry, arguing, chaotic conversations. That's not going to do anyone any good during this energy. It's just self-control and patience. We want to have patience because for some signs, this is going to be very irritable energy. I think particularly the air and fire signs. It just feels as though things might get agitated or edgy. It could be relationships, it could be communication, but it could also be work related. So just be aware of that and keep things on the low key and low, use tact and diplomacy. All right, now the other astrological transit that I want to talk about is Chiron going retrograde in Taurus. This is the resurfacing of some old prior wounds, but I don't feel like they're major ones. I feel like this is just kind of those little things that maybe you haven't addressed because they weren't major. They're more subtle woundings. You know, just for example, maybe when you were a little or a young adult, maybe a teacher said something to you that made you feel a little diminished, but somehow it's just stuck in your memory. And you recall the time that instead of being uplifting, that teacher was diminishing. And for some reason, it's going to come to the surface during this retrograde cycle. And you're going to then see things from a different point of view and say, wow, that teacher really was dealing with a lot with that class. I remember some of the, my peers at that age, or maybe they had just gone through a divorce or gotten a diagnosis. Maybe they were just suffering. And maybe they were human and they said something they shouldn't have. Doesn't excuse it, but I think you're going to be able to resolve it. Okay? So overall, the energy this week is going to be, you'll feel like you'll get more accomplished if you stay focused and if you stay active in your present moment of productivity. Also, this energy feels as though acts of service will be a highlight for you. That you'll show your appreciation, affection, your love language through small acts of service. I'm not talking about grandiose acts. I'm talking about little, small, subtle ways, like maybe doing the dishes for your partner or, packing their lunch. Just little things that you don't ordinarily do, but just you get the inspiration to do that. I also feel like things are going to be going at a very fast pace, particularly thoughts and communication. I think that it's going to feel overwhelming for some to kind of keep up with. And overall, it's a very pleasant energy. Like I said, just imagine a soft breeze blowing through the window, gently caressing the curtains, and you just take in that breath, and it feels so fresh and cool and stimulating. I think that's what we're going to feel overall, but we want to work with this energy and be more in a energy of flow and less resistance. There's going to be some energy of resistance with this Chiron going retrograde in Taurus. Taurus can be very stubborn. You want to be more going with the flow. Just kind of be interactive with the energy as opposed to pushing back. I also feel as though the overall communication is going to be positive, but there can be some edginess, and depending on the sign of the person you're communicating with, they may be responding very differently to this energy than you. If you are a earth sign or water sign, I really feel like this energy is going to flow and feel like a gentle caress. For fire signs and air signs, I feel as though this energy is going to feel more like a little less so. Just more of a breeze that blows your hair all out of shape. And it can be somewhat irritating. So go with the flow. Compromise. That is, in the communications, find the point of compromise, because I feel like that's going to be the path of least resistance. Move forward without fear and focus on some home matters. I feel like there's a lot of projects at home that might need to be done that have been put off, and it's a great time to use this momentum and motivation to attend to some of those things, particularly if you live in the northern hemisphere and you know summer's coming to a close, fall's going to be upon us. Maybe time to get that heating system checked out. If you live in the southern hemisphere, maybe it's time to get your cooling system checked out. So just kind of home maintenance and any kind of minor repairs. All right, I'm going to jump into the reading for the elements. I'm going to pull an oracle card, a major arcana card, and 3 minor arcana cards for each element to give you the deets on how best to navigate this energy. All right, so let's start off with our water signs. So this is Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Let's see what we need to know to navigate these energies. Abundance. And remember, this is your sun sign or rising sign. Abundance. Absolutely beautiful card. This feels like your cup is overflowing. You have tons of abundance. There's that water energy. But the key is live in your blessings and don't put up resistance, because the flow of abundance can be minimized if you put up a lot of resistance. So focus on your abundance and your gratitude, because that's going to create that flow of energy to bring in more. So now I'm going to pull a major arcana for the water signs. So if you are a water sign, sun and rising, let's see what major arcana energies you may be experiencing and what steps you can take. Okay, the sun. That's Leo energy. That's a 19 card, so that is a 10. This feels like whatever needs to be illuminated in your Chiron retrograde energy is going to come to the surface, but not in a major way. But this could be where you put up the resistance that creates a blockage to those blessings. Allow that kind of, it's a minor trauma. For some, it may be a little more, but I really feel like this is just kind of a subtle emotional injury that happened at some point in time you just never kind of dealt with. Maybe it affected you in a different way because you were younger or you were more vulnerable, but I feel like it really affected you, and now you're kind of like able to say, I really made a big deal out of that. It really wasn't that big deal. I have to give empathy to the person and give grace. Maybe they said something that was hurtful, but I took it a lot more dramatically than maybe it was intended. So I think you're getting some insight. The sun is also confirmation. It is about joy and optimism, and that's where that cup is running over. This abundance is coming in. It's blessings. But I really feel like the blessings and the emotional injury are linked, that maybe when we overcome this, it removes some sort of a blockage. I'm getting an example again of some person who was either in authority over you or in charge of you. Could be a parent, could be a boss, could be a teacher, could be a babysitter, could have been a coach. They said something to you at one point in time, and it really rubbed you the wrong way. It was kind of it was hurtful, but it wasn't as hurtful as the way you reacted to it. And now it feels as though, let's just say, because of that, you just never pursued the sport, or you never pursued, the art, or it diverted your direction in some way. And now you're going to heal that and say, you know what? I don't have that block anymore. I could pick up my paints and brushes. I could, I can go back to playing that sport. I really enjoyed it. There's a learning and a life lesson included in this. And it just feels as though it moves you forward in a really positive way. All right, let's pull 3 minor arcana for my water signs, and let's find out. Oh yeah, 10 of Wands. Yeah, this is something you've been carrying around for quite a while. That's why I feel like this happened when you were younger. But it really did. You were very sensitive to this comment or this action. I feel like it's a comment, but it could be an action, and it could have just been somebody having a really bad day. But at that time, here's 2 of Cups. Could be something about a relationship. It could have been a romantic relationship. I feel like it's somebody you felt very close to. And I'm getting twin. 9 of Cups. See all this water energy right here. This 9 of Cups. Look at the cups flowing, overflowing. I feel like once this is resolved, and if you see here, the water is not even in these cups. So whatever this was, diverted your direction or your attention, or it caused enough of a significant injury for you to avoid something. And that has created a barrier. And now it's time for that blockage to be removed. Let me give you another example, and I'll just be quick about it. Let's just say you were an artist and you did this painting and it didn't get rave reviews. In fact, some critic called you out and just said, this is just not the standard. And so but you had started this new style. You had attempted this new material. It's like this new medium that you're working in. So you integrated a new medium into your art, and it didn't go over well. So you took it harsh and just said, I'm not doing that again. But then, since then, you've had all of these creative ideas on how to refine that, but you haven't done it because of what was said. But now you're going to remove that barrier, resolve that hurt, and then be able to go back to that medium, incorporate into your art, and it's going to be like a smash hit, and blessings will be bestowed because you had the courage to try again. So that's what I have for my water signs. So take that as it resonates, and let's move on to the fire signs. All right, my beautiful fire signs. This is Aries, Leo, and Sag. If you are Aries, Leo, Sag, Sun, or Rising sign, let's see what comes through for you in the major, for the Oracle card, the major arcana, and the 3 minor arcana. And then at the very end of this reading, I am going to pull 3 cards from my organization deck, raising your vibration through organization. Since it is this Virgo energy with Venus, this is the perfect time to start some organizational projects, small but significant, and then help us get focused and maintain the momentum for completion. All right, so for my fire signs, this is denial. This is something you've denied, and I do feel like this is something that is linked to this Chiron retrograde. We're going to be revisiting something that we have denied in the past, and that has caused some sort of injury to our emotional well-being or to our spiritual well-being. I feel like this is the time that we need to face the absolute truth of what it was we denied, because it's creating a blockage, and that blockage is blocking blessings that need to come in or insights that need to come in. So we're just going to settle this. All right, I'm just going to turn. Let's pull this one. The Fool. This is a new beginning for you. This is excitement. There's a new journey. After this has healed, this is a new journey. It's almost like you're combining a new way of communicating with more empathy, I'm feeling, but also with this momentum of some sort of project that you've been wanting to do that you've been putting off. So if there's something that you've been wanting to accomplish, this is, especially if it's practical, this is the time to engage, because you're going to get the momentum. It feels like it can be financial. We're going to find out in the minor arcana, but it feels like reworking a budget would be a really positive step for the fire signs. All right. Now, with this energy, it can be a little bit more volatile for you, because you're one of the elements where this energy is going to come in and instead of feeling like a cool breeze, it's going to mess up your hair. And you might get a little irritable about that because you just had your hair done and you're feeling like, you know what, I didn't need that. But ultimately, you're going to be able to draw in some positives in this energy if you stay focused on projects, productivity, beautification, budget. Just, I feel like the word errant is coming up. Oh, Four Swords. You know, don't do something. I just feel like this is not the time to really go out on a limb. I just don't feel like you're going to be supported with that energy. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So the 3 minor arcana cards, 4 swords. Now, whatever this wounding was, you can see the 3 of swords here, and the 4 sword is laid down. This is time to lay it down. This is time to put it away, deal with it emotionally, and then be able to catalog it as a life lesson. I don't think it's I don't feel like this is like a major thing like with an X. I'm not getting that energy. It could be, but I'm not getting that energy. I'm getting more the energy that this was a slight of some sort. And it just had a profound effect because I feel like this happened quite a while ago. But it's time to let it heal. You don't have to forget about it, but I do believe that forgiveness is in order, and that might be where the denial was. It might be that you just weren't ready to forgive this person. All right, 7 of Pentacles. This is about staying in that productive, performative energy. Not so much nose to the grindstone, but what needs to be done, and let's get it done. Not really a to-do list, but a top 3 priority list. What do I need to really get done in my life right now that I have the momentum and the energy to do? I really feel like that's time, because once we do that, I feel like as we move through the next, we're in eclipse season. Once we get into that eclipse season, I think it's going to pay off. 5 of Swords. 5 of Swords is in this energy with this deck. To me, it's less about manipulation and conflict as it is about calling it out. I feel like you can see the 4 swords pointed, and this 1 sword is the only sword you have. But I feel like it's the sword of clarity. It is the sword of truth. So hang on to your truth. Hang on to your truth. Don't waver. No matter what gets thrown at you, stay aligned with your truth. That's going to help you through this energy, because I feel like with this denial, and there could be some sort of deception, I feel like if you stay aligned with your truth, you're not going to get sucked into it. Okay? Let's move on to our air signs. All right, so for my air signs, Sun and Rising, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. Now, Gemini, you might feel this a little stronger because Mars just moved into Gemini. So you may feel a little bit more of a thrust in this energy. Remember, I said air signs may feel this energy in a different way. It may be a little less gentle and a little more abrupt, but, okay. But if you navigate it carefully, it will be beneficial to you in the end, because here's the growth card. Now, with Chiron retrograde, whatever is going to resurface for you to be emotionally cleansed, that is, it's going to be fuel your growth. It's going to be the kind of the growth factor for you to move forward. And there's a lesson there. There's a deeply embedded lesson in your, in this, whatever hurt, whatever injury has occurred that's going to resurface with this Chiron, this wound, but it feels minor. Whatever it was, it created a block. And now it's time to remove that block so that you can truly grow from the experience. The Fool. And we've already had this. with our fire signs. This is a new energy, and it's almost like once this little thing is healed, it closes a past chapter and opens a more resonant, harmonious chapter where things flow a lot more easily to you and through you. And that's a really good feeling. Now, again, with those small acts of service, that is going to amplify this energy, because as you are giving and being of service, that creates a flow of energy, and we definitely want that flow in order to grow. All right, the 3 minor arcana cards for my air signs. There's 1, 2 of swords. Five of swords, saw that in the fire sign. Could be some deception. I'm just going to say, stand in your truth. Your truth matters here. It always matters, but it really matters now. It feels like there might be some people trying to instigate injury or conflict. Somebody is trying to instigate conflict, and you just need to stand in your truth. This is not a hyper-reactive situation. This is a point where if somebody is really getting aggressive, to say, you know what, I think we're going to put this off for right now, and we'll come back to this conversation at another time. It is perfectly okay to do that. In fact, you'd be very wise to do that at this point in time. With this 3 of Wands, there's a set of expectations that you have or they have, and there's a misalignment. And that might cause some conflict. It might cause a little bit of verbal aggression, especially with this Mars energy. Remember, I said Mars might create a little drama for some signs. But I think with this 5 of Swords, you are in control. And you don't have to react. You can respond, even if that response is, I need to table this discussion for right now until I'm more emotionally ready to deal with it. Perfectly okay. But I feel like it either shows that you have grown because you don't normally react that way, or you're using this as an opportunity to get growth out of the relationship, out of the job, out of your partner, something. There's this catalyst. And with this 3 of Wands, this is moving forward. This is a movement. But this 3 is the catalyst. And it feels like maybe a verbal misunderstanding or argument that then gets everybody kind of in their own corner, thinking about things and gaining some wisdom and insight. And I think when we come back to the table to have this discussion later, it's a new beginning. All right, that's what I have for my air signs. Let's move on to earth signs. Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgos. Now, you guys are going to be the heavy hitters in this energy because Venus has moved into Virgo, and it's going to feel very at home for you. And you're going to feel a lot more energy coming through as far as motivation, productivity, project management, and goal accomplishment. Now, Tauruses, you might feel a little triggered in this energy with Chiron going retrograde in Taurus. You might feel a little resistant to the healing. And so we want to make sure that we're open and that we're getting kind of the higher mind perspective of the situation. Okay, empathy. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. We want to make sure that we're coming from an empathetic point of view. And I think that's kind of been a theme throughout this whole reading, that we want to make sure that we're giving grace and empathy, especially for those people who aren't aware of what's going on in the transits and the astrology and are, have no information on how to navigate this. These are the people that are going to be triggered. These are the people that are going to become verbally abrasive. These are the people who are going to be a little less diplomatic, and that could trigger you. So now that you're aware, be from the higher perspective and understand and empathize that some of the people you're dealing with have no idea why they're experiencing these energies. They're just reacting to them without the awareness, and that can make them look triggered. So earth signs, a little extra patience, some empathy, and ride the wave of this productivity. All right, let's see what the major arcana comes through for you. I'm feeling like the death card. Yeah, the Emperor. That's Aries energy. That is Mars, and that is aligned with this Mars entering Gemini. For me, this is about loyalty. And I think maybe the hurt that is going to come through is a minor betrayal that's happened a while ago that you just haven't let go of. I feel like this is your opportunity to allow this to be resolved and put aside, not forgotten, but I don't think betrayal should ever be forgotten. But I do believe that you're in a more mature and uplifted energy from when this happened. So now you can look back and say, you know, they were wrong. They were wrong. And you can admit it, but you can also give grace. Okay, Seven of Pentacles. We saw that in the air signs, or the fire signs. So a lot of kind of similar energies going through. Ten of Swords. Oh, yeah. And the Ace of Swords. Okay, so let's start with the Seven of Pentacles. This is diligence. And this is looking toward the future by what we encounter today. What are we doing today that is going to grow in the next 4 or 5 months? Definitely during eclipse season. This is going to be a rough eclipse season, I just have a feeling. It's going to be pleasant in some aspects, but it's not going to be an easy energy to deal with. And I feel like what we accomplish now through these energies and these transits is going to benefit us after the eclipse season. That's just the timing I'm getting. This is also Taurus energy. So during this Chiron retrograde is when something is going to be resolved that's going to benefit you after eclipse season. Ten of Swords. This is finally laying it to rest. This is finally accepting the betrayal, but yet knowing that maybe that was a different version of them, and maybe, I'm not saying trust again, I'm saying have a higher perspective, that maybe they weren't their best selves. We all grow and learn on this journey, and sometimes people only remember the worst version of ourselves and not give us grace that we have changed. So it might be worth examining and being clear about this person and whether or not they have truly indeed changed. People can change if they truly desire change and are willing to do the work. And I feel like this betrayal, it shifted the course of your emotional, I'm trying to find the word, it shifted the course of your emotional well-being. It's almost like you've been questioning this and questioning yourself and questioning, where did this come from? Why would they do that to me? All legitimate questions. But it created some sort of a dynamic in your emotional body that has created damage, injury. It's something abrasive. It's almost like it's been scrubbing at your wound for a long, long time. And now you're like, why should I trust them again? You know your truth. And you can be aware and watchful and look at behavior patterns. If they say they're going to call and they don't, okay. I now see who you are. I am given the gift of clarity, and we don't need to go any further. I forgive you, but we're done. Or the person says they're going to call, and they call, and they become consistent in their behavior. They're uplifting, they're supportive, and you're now like, okay, I can see clearly that they have learned a life lesson and they have used it for their growth. So I really feel like that's a really positive thing if you navigate it correctly. I think it's going to be quite refreshing, healing, and there's an element of isolation that will be removed. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it's like somebody was emotionally isolated. I think that's the word I was looking for earlier. It's you became emotionally isolated because of this situation, and now that will be removed. Okay, so let's talk about how we can really capitalize on this Venus and Virgo energy to move us forward. Of course, you all know I'm a professional organizer, and I have a YouTube channel, TikTok, and Facebook called The Organizer Advisor. I truly believe that organization raises our vibration, and it just helps bring more blessings in our life when we're in a higher vibration. So I created this little deck called Raise Your Vibration Through Organization. This is just like decluttering and organizing things in your home. So we're going to pull 3 cards to give us a focus for the week to help us really maintain the momentum, capitalize on this energy, and move ourselves forward while raising our vibration all at the same time. Okay, so we have China. Some of you don't have China. Clean your refrigerator and freezer. It's a great opportunity to kind of go through, any kind of expired food and, restock with fresh, wholesome, light food. Food that is grown in the light is going to help raise your vibration. Healthy food helps to raise your vibration because you're not dealing with the toxicity of the chemicals. So maybe clean out your refrigerator, use the food that you need to use before it goes bad. I like to disinfect my refrigerator so it smells good. Check your condiments. When was the last time you opened those? I date mine when I open them so I know when they're getting old and need to be used. And then restock with, healthier, fresh foods that are going to help nourish your body. Because while it nourishes your body, it's going to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Plus, opening a refrigerator that looks and smells, inviting, it might even help your relationship with food. All right, organized to utilize China. Many of us don't have China anymore. I do. Some of us inherited China in my generation. It was given as a wedding gift. If you have China, use it. But also, get it out, and maybe this week, get some special dinner. You can get takeout if you need to, or you can create, some fresh food, some fresh meals. Using the food that you have, you can do some home-cooked meals, but serve it on your China. And get your China clean and ready to use condition because it does elevate your dining experience. And I use my China every day, and there's no reason not to. So that's one of the things that you can do to help kind of capitalize on this energy. Let's pull the last one. Coupons. This is a great way to help support your budget, which is that Virgo energy, Venus in Virgo. But you can save money, shop smart, capitalize on sales, extend your grocery budget, try new products, and it helps to contribute to your financial well-being, which also helps to raise your vibration. Now, just in case you need more support with these kind of tasks, please go to my YouTube channel, The Organizer Advisor. Check out my playlist. China is going to be under Organized to Utilize. I have a video on how to clean and care for your China. Cleaning your refrigerator and freezer, you can look under the video. I have cleaning videos, but this is going to be under the playlist. Playlist cleaning, every nook and cranny cleaning, and kitchen. And then lastly, coupons. I have some great strategies on how to really maximize your saving with coupons, how to organize your coupons, and how you can use them without going through lots of time, lots of energy, and lots of stress, and save money. That's going to be under document organization. There's a video called coupons, and I think it's a relatively new video, so it's got some good information in it. Anyway, that will help get us started on the right foot this week, so take it as it resonates, and I look forward to seeing you again next week in the upcoming transits and eclipse season. Until then, my beautiful friends, namaste.